Welcome to Turmeric and Tequila with your host, Kristen Olson. Questioning a better way, one gracefully disruptive conversation at a time.
Welcome to Turmeric and Tequila. I am so excited to be here today. We have a very special guest in the house, Michael Sullivan. Yes. Welcome to Turmeric and Tequila.
Thank you. I'm super excited and to actually like sitting with you and laughing with you. This is great.
Hey, we're going to have a good time. You already know.
Yeah.
You already know. So if you watch or listen to Turmeric and Tequila, you know Connects of Connects are my absolute favorite. So I have to give a special shout out to the Claire Sobin. She is New Jersey's finest.
Love.
And that's how I know Michael. We've met. Actually, Claire was walking in your show at Denver Fashion Week. Yeah, and I came to support her.
Yeah, because it was actually I had collaborated with an amazing creative, Kristen. She owns a Common Collective.
So
I did production for her pant line, and then that's how I met Claire.
Yes, yeah. So we've been at a few of her events together. So, and I've even told Michael, I'm like, don't tell me the full backstory because you got to come on the show and tell like the mission and the madness behind everything. Yeah. But before we jump in, I do want to read his bio. I don't always do that, but you've got a pretty impressive situation. It's cool to hear it back, so we're going to take a moment and do it. Michael is a passionate, fast-paced fashion designer and wardrobe stylist and tailor whose vocational efforts extend between Denver, Colorado, and Los Angeles, California. He utilizes talents through collaboration in wardrobe, tailoring, and has contributed to various projects for companies such as Refinery 29, Gentle Monster, and Charles David Shoes, as well as such clients as Jay White Did It, Such, Selena Albright, and the Miss Lauryn Hill. As the co-founder and creative director in eco-conscious, gender-affirming clothing line, HAUS, Michael has dedicated his passions and education to sustainable production methods, bespoke garment construction, pattern making, as well as charitable event planning to benefit his community. His line's most recent collection, Reclaim Black, debuted in New York Fashion Week, September 9th, 2023, and has since been published on BET.com, Elle.com, and Glamour.com. He aspires to help educate people and communities he belongs to, as well as open doors for other Black and Black LGBTQIA+ creatives.
Wow.
Come on now. Come on.
Did I do all that?
Yeah, right? I know. And yours is a longer bio. I usually read the short version, but I'm like, we got to pack this all in because I think not only your skill set and your experience, but what I'm in love with is your intentionality. And in 2024, there's nothing more than we need, especially our creatives that are out there, sharing the story. So before we get into right now, tell me about like young Michael. Like, tell me about the beginning of how it was.
My mom will tell you I've always just been me. You know, my mom is like, I love her so much. She's like, hi, Ma.
Hey, Mom.
She's like my bestie. And growing up, my mom really focused on myself and my siblings being in the arts. So my older brother got to dance for Debbie Allen. She produced the Pepito Story. This was like, it would have been like probably 93, I think. So I was a kid. I was a baby, but I remember going to his rehearsals and seeing these like really cool like butterfly wing costumes.
Okay.
And I feel like from then that's when I really knew like I had to do something with like art or creation, you know what I mean? And my twin sister played the violin.
You're a twin?
I'm a twin.
Oh my God. Okay, how many siblings are there?
I have a half sister, an older brother, and or I also say an older sister. I don't like the half part. Okay. And then a twin sister. So
are you guys the middle kids?
So my sister and I would be considered the young. I would say the youngest. Yes. And then my older sister would be the middle, and then my older brother. So
okay, I'm the oldest, so the youngest. I'm always like they get a little side eye. Well, the babies are always. I mean, I'm here for you, but
it's and I think that's the. I consider myself the baby. My twin sister's a minute older than I am.
That counts. That's
so I'm like literally the youngest sibling.
Okay.
But yeah, my mom calls me the baby, calls me her baby boy.
Oh yeah, see, there you go. This is This is where it begins. Okay, it's a whole vibe.
It is.
Okay.
And, since then I, growing up, seeing all of that and in being in band and choir, I started a dance team in high school. I was a captain of a drill team. I did cheerleading from 7th grade up into college. And competitive cheer. So you're doing
like
one
the
man
Netflix cheer.
Yeah. Not the, the cutesy stuff, which is cute. No shade. But I was
legit.
definitely in the gym throwing, flyers up in the air. So, I from that time, I believe it was 8th grade, I had sat down with my mom and I said, I'm either going to go to Arizona State University and I'm going to study forensic pathology, or I'm going to study design and fashion. And I had read some article and it said people start to smell like dead bodies if they work with them.
Oh,
because pathology, you're just studying diseases and all that. So that was an easy pivot for me.
So that's like turmeric tequila right there, man. Those are it's like beauty and death. Yeah. Literally. Okay.
Well, and I think it's all kind of beautiful, right?
Yeah.
Just the cycle of life. So I from 8th grade, I decided to do design, and that's what I've focused on since. I started sketching, taught myself how to sew in high school. I did 2 10-piece collections, so 10 pieces are 10 looks, right? I did 2 of those, and that got me a portfolio grant to the Academy of Art University, and that's where I studied.
Okay. And where were you? You were born out here?
I was born in Colorado Springs.
Oh, see, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought, you were born in Colorado Springs. When did you move to Denver?
So I graduated high school in 2009, moved to San Francisco in 2010, moved back here, I believe it was 2013.
Okay.
And I was in Colorado Springs, then I moved up to Denver.
Okay.
So I stayed here. I think that was probably 3-4 years because I was traveling. I ended up getting hooked up with a few bands and doing wardrobe.
Oh, yes.
So I did some traveling. I moved to LA in 2018, was traveling, doing weddings and custom wardrobe work and all that crazy stuff. And then the pandemic happened and I came back here. So I've been back in Denver since May of 2020.
Okay.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought you were from the East Coast and then you moved here. No. Because you do have East Coast energy, and which if you know me, I have this love affair with New York. I don't know why. It's just the food, the fashion, the diversity, the energy. Some people you can't handle it. I'm I feel like I go there to relax because it's just so much.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something about it. Anyways, I thought you were for sure born and raised East Coast. Or I mean, you spent time out here.
Yeah. A lot of people think I'm from the West. I love California. I consider California a home of mine.
Okay.
But no, ever since I grew up, people would be you don't seem like you're from here. And I'm oh, okay. I guess,
Well, Colorado's a little hard to figure out, but not really if you're from here.
Yeah.
But I think people moving, outsiders are we don't really know the vibe, or we haven't really tapped into the culture yet. Because so much of it is still up and coming. Yeah. And this is why I love our creatives that are from here, but also doing your business here.
Yeah.
That's what our city and the energy, the people really need. It's really critical.
Absolutely.
So it was always in this in the car, in the stars for you to be a creative.
Yes.
And it was good. And it sounds like you were pretty clear on path, pretty fast.
I mean, honestly, and I don't think that your education, your life experience, all of those things, they're not the same. And I think people get bogged down by other people's stories because they feel like they have to accomplish things at a certain time. They have to be in a specific space to be successful, or their story has to match another creative story. Yeah. And that's not real, right? My senior year in high school, I wrote down a 5-year plan.
Yes.
Everything on that plan I did. Every single thing. It was from starting my clothing line and, working in wardrobe. I did every single thing on that list. So that would have brought me to 23. Okay. At 23, I said, okay, I did everything. What do I do now? And I think that's the best part for a creative, because it's you've made these goals and these steps to really build out a vision. Yeah. And now you can really take ownership of okay, where am I going to take all of these ambitions and ideas and thoughts? Where am I putting it, and how does that focus help build not only myself but the people around me? Yeah. So I really focused on that. And HAUS, I tell people all the time, HAUS is a manifestation of a Black queer boy from Colorado Springs. I always wanted to create something that was my own. Yeah. And growing up, I would always see, Dior and, Christian Lacroix and Oscar de la Renta. I would see all of these design houses put out work, and then I would see my community and I would say, hey, y'all are taking things from my community and then putting it on the runway. and trying to sell it back to us, but also you're excluding us from that process, right? You're excluding us not only from like going into your stores. Not only am I being followed in Chanel at 18. Yeah, thanks. Not only being followed in these like stores that I've admired for so long, but you're taking our style, our grace, our attitude, our influence, and you're trying to give it back to us. And so HAUS was like, no, I want to reclaim that. I want that to be, it's us. It's us who create the trends. It's our street fashion. It's our self-expression. And I, especially when it comes to Black, queer, and trans people, I want people to really focus on like, no, we have had so many contributions through fashion and politics and civil rights and all of that. So let me embolden that into what I do and let me build a team that represents that as well.
Yes. You know? And I was reading through your stuff. I love that HAUS is honoring art.
Unifying souls.
I'm like, oh my God, I'm in love with that. And time out, is there a Chanel in Colorado Springs?
Okay,
like,
no, so okay, so
like, am I missing this?
So my twin sister's name is Chanel Monet.
Oh,
so
okay.
Yeah, you know, so my mom is she's the curator of that. But
I love
it. So we had turned 18 and we had went to Las Vegas with my ma, and Chanel and I went on the Strip and we went to the Chanel store, and it's like something we had always wanted to do. We had never been in one. And so we walk into the Chanel store, and from as soon as we stepped through the door, we were followed. Mind you, we're like 18. When I say followed, it's the woman working behind the counter plus like a security guard at the door.
Okay.
And so I say this, and I want to throw this out to all of those big design houses. It is important for you to understand that I am not the average shoplifter. The average shoplifter is a middle-aged white woman.
Yeah.
Also, when it comes down to us coming to the store, I have every right to come into the store and look and admire the work that I had admired when I was a kid and reading every Vogue or Essence magazine or Jet magazine that had Chanel in there. Like I had every right to do so.
Yeah.
And so to hire people or to have a staff or to have a mentality through your business that makes us feel like we aren't welcome, that's the problem, and that's why I'm starting HAUS. That's why I started HAUS. And that's why I'm building it, because I cut, sew, design, pattern everything with my team. We create everything, all of our video work, our music direction, our models, everything we curate. And I want people to see like, no, this is us.
Yeah.
Like you take from us. Yes, you have great skills, but we have great skills too. So, I just wanted to throw that out there because
Let's go. Casual throw, you pick that up. I couldn't agree with you more, because attitude reflects leadership, and as an athlete, you could always see the coach, the players act like the coach. So obviously, when you go over to business, that culture stems from the top. So if there are rules or there's some sort of like said thing, or it vibes all the way down, and it's really hard to undo that. Yeah. And the magical thing about 2024 and the upside of social media is our young humans, however they look, whatever they came from, TikTokers are millionaires. YouTubers are millionaires. So brands, whether your heart's in the right or wrong place, you better understand the consumer has changed.
Right.
And the people walking in the door, even Colorado Springs is pretty conservative compared to Denver.
Yes.
That's what I was like, did they get Chanel? Like, what did I? No shade to Colorado Springs, but I'm like, really? Cherry Creek just got Gucci like a year ago. Not that I'm casually shopping in there yet. But these are intimidating spaces to walk in anyways.
Yeah.
So I think it is important, and I think many people share that experience of feeling uncomfortable in a place where they just don't feel welcome in. Period.
Yes.
And that comes from, the attitude and the leadership and everything else. Kind of like we were talking about before on the mic, where, marketing is really shaping a lot of our reality and the way we're digesting this world.
Yes.
And that's why it's so important we have our intentional humans and also our creatives, because you are what's on the cover of magazines or in videos or what people are wearing, which is a total extension of your personality and what you have to say.
Yeah.
It's really big.
Yeah.
Where do you think, because I want people to watch this and be like, oh my gosh, I identify with Michael saying he looks like me, he does what I want to do, what have you. That's the power of podcasting and being on the mic. But it's really hard to take that first step. Where do you think you got the confidence to be out here and actually do the dream?
Oh, you know what? I feel like that's such a hard question, because I feel as though even if I was shy or nervous, I always walked in my truth. So even before I came out, right? Like my ma jokes about it, like, I didn't know you were gay. I didn't know you were queer. And all of her friends knew, right? I was just me.
Yeah.
So even if I walked into a space that I was nervous and say I had to do a performance or whatever, I was me all day. And that's where I think the confidence comes from, right? I think I was able to say, you can say what you want to say about me, but I'm not going to be in this space forever. I'm going to go on and do what I want. And I just always saw myself doing what I'm doing now. Like I always knew that what I'm doing currently, I was going to do, and nothing was going to stop me.
Yeah.
And I really, I mean, I did struggle a lot. I had an eating disorder in junior high school into high school. I was self-harming. I was having suicidal ideations. And the one thing that really kept me going was just finding other creatives that had made it through. So I remember reading a book on James Baldwin, who I love. And one of the quotes he said, "Beyond talent lie all the usual words, discipline, love, luck, but most of all, endurance." And ever since then, I've been trying to live my life that way. I always want to push myself, even when I feel like I can't go any further. I know I've got a little bit more. And so I want other Black and queer and trans creatives to also know that everything is obtainable. You just have to really set focus on where you want to go and where you want to take that, and build the ecosystem around you. Build the people that support you and believe in your dream. You know?
Absolutely.
And that's where I think confidence really came from. It was not only seeing myself where I am today, but also being like, no, I want to open the door for other people to have that too.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a huge responsibility, though. I mean, there's with power comes responsibility.
Yeah.
Some Marvel, I don't watch Marvel, but it's one of those Superman or something. I don't know. Madonna. Anyways,
Spider-Man.
yeah. No, I love that. One of my favorite quotes, Madonna, was, "I didn't start singing because I had the best voice. I started because I had something to say." And I always had like that, never the best, but just play the long game. Like just keep showing up, and even if they're better, stronger, faster, they can't outlast you.
Yeah.
And we've tested those limits a few times with knee surgeries and stuff, but I think that's so critical that somehow it was I like that you said it was before you were born, like it was kind of always there. Do you feel like your mission's bigger than you?
Always.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm a spiritual being. I see myself as a two-spirited person or dual-spirited person. The construct of gender has always been super weird for me. Yes, I was born male, but I've never focused solely on just my gender. I've focused on what my spiritual feeling has been, and that's just equal parts, right? And urban religion and spirituality and things that I practice. I just know that I am a part of something. I'm a part of the story my ancestors are telling and had told. I'm a part of your story, even though our lines, timelines kind of like, do this or whatever the case is, vice versa. So I do feel like it is bigger than me. I also feel like I can't move forward in life without leaving doors open. So instead of people trying to get a seat at the table, I'm trying to build a house, and I'm going to fill it with as many people who really support me and vice versa, and believe in each other and themselves as much as possible. Every nook and cranny is going to be filled with queer and trans and Black and brown and women and just like everyone that really has something to say. So I've just always felt like my idea, my mission, my goals in life are not just my own. They're the thoughts of my mother. They're the ideas of my grandparents. They're the kid who's sitting here watching this podcast like, damn, hopefully I can make it, or hopefully I can do it, and I just want you to know that you can.
Amen. There you go. That's really beautiful. I think I'm such an advocate. Well, mental health and community is the podcast, and the base of it, and that stems from individuality. Like in our world, in our culture, like everybody, it's kind of how we form meaning. Like old school philosophy, reality is nothing more than applied meaning. So we're applying meaning. This is water bottle. This is microphone. So we like gender and this roles and that. Like that's kind of how we digest society. And I think that's where like that mental health conflict comes in, because nobody really fits into all these boxes.
Yeah.
But you don't even sometimes you don't even have that conscious thought of like, why do I feel uncomfortable? Why do I feel like I don't belong? Why do I feel like this? It's because we are so conditioned to think to be a certain way.
Yes.
And the reality is nobody really, like, our individual, angles, like, that's why we were made. Like, whatever you believe in, God, universe, Madonna, like, wherever you came from, like, that you have these gifts, like, you're not designed to stick into these little things and be a soldier. So I'm a business nerd, so I love that, like, the business side of it, because we're taught to do all the formal things, and then you get into like corporate world or whatever. Hence, I'm an entrepreneur. I never fit in that, but you don't fit in, and like people wonder why they're so unhappy. And I'm like, what, are you doing your purpose? Do you like this? And they're like, no. And I'm like, okay, well, you don't need to go to therapy. I'm an advocate for that too, but like, just go do something that brings you joy, as simple as that sounds. But you're also not serving the world if you have these gifts and you're not using them. Right. But it's really hard to live this alternative, like, challenge status quo. It's really hard to live outside the lines.
Well, and speaking on like a business aspect, right? Like, I had taken business courses before I moved to San Francisco. So I graduated in 2009. I took a few business courses at like the local community college, and when Pikes Peak Community College was a community college, right? I think it's a state now.
Okay, I think it is. Yeah. Funny.
So I think it's a state now. But I'd taken courses there, and then I got into school, and I was like reading every book. I was like, watching YouTube videos on business. And the thing that I realized is that, like, corporate world, like the corporate world in general, was not made for us.
No.
Right? So I said, okay, so what can I do to build something of my own that I don't have to rely on a corporate entity to actually make money, right? Or to thrive. And so I really sat down and I came up with like a game plan, and I reached out to this grant, and then my college two of my college friends, Lindsay and Shatar, we, started HAUS together, and, Lindsay put some money in, and like, Shatar put money, I put money in, and we did sweat equity, whatever we could.
Yeah.
And so, since taking over HAUS, I really focused on, okay, what can I do in order to keep it going? So, as it builds, I said, well, what can I do that's going to make this grow? And what can I do that's going to also help people learn? So I started teaching sewing classes and design classes, and giving knowledge that I had and learning from them, and custom wardrobe. I also do custom interior designs. Like I make custom cushions and window treatments and pillows. HAUS Home, that's my home interiors line that's launching this fall, right? Okay. Anything that I could encompass in what I do, that's what I do. I'm also like working with and for a nonprofit right now, Youth Scene. They created a part-time position for me to help come up with activities for kids and their families and their caregivers of BIPOC, queer, and trans kids, right? So everything that I do encompasses like the creation, encompasses art, but I'm able to live through all of these like vignettes, how you would say, because I'm able to implement what I know into my everyday life. And I think that's what business is like your diversity, or diversifying what you know, but diversifying what you know. Like, don't like step too far out of the box. Just diversify the knowledge that you have. That way you're able to support the community as well as yourself and build your business. Yeah.
So well said. And it goes against, I was like a comm major, ironically, because it inflicted with my business major as a lacrosse athlete. So I switched to comm, which is funny because I'm here on the, no, I literally just did it for sports. Universe though has a tricky sense of humor. It's like, bitch, if you're not going to listen, I'm going to shove you. Which is my story over and over again, and will probably continue to be.
Yeah.
But all my electives were business classes, so my fellow athletes had like 4.5s. I'm like, dude, you're doing basket weaving and ballet. Like, I was doing like Econ 301, but we're not mad about it.
Right,
anyways,
right.
They were getting like athletic honor roll. I'm like, whatever. But doing all the business classes, getting out of it, I was like, okay. I'm like, we didn't learn anything really. We learned some basic stuff, but basically it's relationships, keep showing up, and live a life of service. But the main takeaway, like what you just said, I think is when you're on your path and you're living this life of service, like how can I show up to serve while you're doing the universe, God, Madonna, whatever you believe, shows up and provides this path for you to get paid to do what you're meant to do. But that's really not that sellable to our young people. Like, but I can go get 100K working finance 80 hours a week doing, Coke and eating McDonald's and blah, blah, blah. But like, it looks attractive and then New York eats you up in 6 months in. But so it's like, it's not really like that visual, but like you're living proof of it.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
You are. I mean, that's huge because it's really, really brave, and you got to believe, man.
You have to believe, and you like within yourself and everything around you. And that's why I say it's important. Take care of the people who are supporting you and are around you. Last year for my show, I did a show in March, and this is crazy how it happened. So I did a show in March last year where I made sure not only my team was compensated, but all of the models that were in my show were compensated, right? Whether that meant I had to, I was also working a tailoring job at the time too. Whether that meant that I had to, sorry, not my phone vibrating, that whether I had to like come up with that money myself or, orders were coming in or I was doing custom, I just wanted to make sure everybody felt valued, right? And so I did that show. I had reached out to a production company in New York that was doing a show for New York Fashion Week, just wanting to know information. They said, well, just, send us your portfolio, because I said, I really want to show in 2024, because this was last year. I was like, I want to show in 2024. They're like, well, no, let's see your portfolio. Let's see what happens. So I sent a portfolio and they're like, look, we really loved your work. We want to showcase you in our emerging designer showcase. And that's how it happened. And I think sometimes we're so afraid to ask the question that we don't get to where we really want to be. So it's not just like what it is building the relationships, networking. People think that there's like a blueprint to like building a business. It's like, no, like
no,
there's no bit. You got to just you learn. And so I think it's just really important when you are really trying to build something. Take care of the people who are trying, even if it's like, hey, like for this project, I can only pay you $300 for this week or $500 for this week or whatever. Like, really be honest. Let people know what you're trying to do, but also show up for yourself, because if you're not doing the work, people aren't going to want to work with you. They're not going to want to see or celebrate or support somebody who's like expecting other people to do their job.
Right.
You know what I mean?
If you don't lead it and bleed it, especially these days, our young humans don't want to be part of something that they're not passionate about. Or if you are the corporate human where your cup really isn't filled by your job, it is just a job and you can go get paid, that's fine. I looked at it, I'm not going to spend 20 years building someone's dream, especially if it's not even close to what I care about. But some people, that's okay, and then they serve their passion in other ways in this world.
Absolutely.
But yeah, if you're not in it and like really bleeding the cause, our young people can see. Like if you're actually in it and they're like, oh, they'll either believe in you or they don't.
Yeah.
And if you're not willing to do the work, well then, I mean, it's never going to really actually work out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think this is a really great entrepreneurship that you're good about, is your intentionality about hiring and not only compensating, because in the fashion industry, it can be like, oh, well, we're going to like give you exposure through. And no one can, maybe once or twice, like there was always a beginning to things, you got to prove yourself. But after time, it's not really a thing. And so Title IX was huge. And if you don't know Title IX is, it created space for women's sports. And I was right. I graduated high school in 1999, so a long time ago. But that's right when things were coming off, and a lot of people were really mad because they were canceling men's sports to create space for women's sports. And now you see the WNBA, and this year in particular, it's going to be a focus for TNT. It's massive, but that holding space before it's a proven thing, before it goes against culture, our norms, I'm so passionate about it because it changed my life. Like it facilitated, and I'm a woman of white privilege from the burbs of Colorado. Like, there's not many like hills to climb. Adversity is real, but that early space that was held for me has really, created my path moving forward. How was that something early for you? Where like, I want to hold this space, and then once I do have the company and the funds, to then be really intentional about who I brought on and how I employed them.
Yeah, I mean, I truly agree with that, because I think for me it was, even at the beginning, when we were just putting in money that we had, or, getting orders or whatever the case was, it was, how can I really support? And there would be sometimes where people were like, don't worry about it. We just believe in what you're doing. So it really, for me, it was just being honest and upfront from the beginning and saying, this is what we can do. This is what I can offer. And also like, I really need help. Can you help me? Because nobody gets anywhere alone. It's just not a real thing. So, when it comes to that notion of building upward, you really have to have a mindset of sustainability, social responsibility, and equity. If I'm making a certain amount, I want my design team to be making the same. Like, I don't have this like, oh, well, I need to be making more because I am this, and a third, right? I just want us to feel equitable through everything.
Yeah.
And then if you're also thinking about, what your mindset and your business is, for me, I really just took sustainability and social responsibility, and I wanted it within my business. And whether we're like sourcing fabrics or materials, a lot of what we source, they're sustainable materials. We only do small batch production. We do everything in house. I really am trying. I mean, I recently met an amazing textile designer who's making textiles for this collection. So we're doing like custom textiles and really just focusing on how we are impacting the environment we live in, but the environment that people are working in. I think that goes hand in hand with what you were saying, because for me, that's all I could think about was how can I create a safe space? How can I create something that really is going to have longevity? And my design assistant, Michael, a couple weeks ago said, Michael, a safe space is not just your job. Yeah. It's the job of the other people involved. So when you're finding people and you're looking for people, they need to be in that same mindset of creating a safe space for everyone involved. I think that's the only way you can thrive, especially now, is like making sure that everybody feels welcomed and saved and honored in a way, because we're all here doing something that's bigger than ourselves, giving back,
Absolutely. Well, that energy is really real. And it is 2024 and in 2025 and moving on. That I think that's going to be bigger than ever, entering in with this non-ego and like just setting the tone of like we're all paid equally. That changes the tone of everything right off the bat. Yeah. And being a longtime athlete, I was always coachable to a point until like, the once I felt like they didn't believe, then I didn't believe, then I was out, and there was no faking it, and that's cost me significantly. I wish I could fake it more, and professionally and athletically. But the reality was like if you weren't in it, I don't want to be part of it. Right. And my best coaches are the ones that were most impactful for me, are the ones that cared. I could feel it, and they would show up, and there wasn't ego, and it was just like, I'm not the perfect coach, I'm not this, but I'm here for you. Like, what is it that you need? And that's always the leader that I've tried to be, is like, I'm not going to tell you I have it all figured out, or that I know the rules, and everything's so fluid, especially right now. Like there's really no rules to any game. But showing up and being really intentional with your humans and setting that tone of like, here's the team I want to build, and this is how we operate, just by doing it. That's like the new business culture. I hope, Target leans that way, and Kellogg's and Coors and all these big guys, because that's what and that energy trickles down, and that's like the mental health and everything else. Do you have any suggestions around like mental health? And we'll get into coaching in a second, because I want to talk about that. But like mental health strategy that you did, like meditation or creating, I'm sure is part of it. But anything you did that it's like, this helped me stay on path? Yeah,
I always say mental health looks different for everyone, right? And literally working with a nonprofit focusing on the mental health of queer and trans kids. I find there are multiple things that I do. Meditation is one of them. Again, like I said, through your urban spirituality, I always have I commune with my ancestors. I meditate and I thank them all the time. I also have learned that it's okay to rest. Productivity can be toxic. So, if I'm working 7 days a week and giving all of my energy and my time, I'm not giving my best. So knowing when to say, okay, take a break, or, turn your phone off. Let people know you're not going to be responding to emails for the next couple of days. I also love getting some fresh air. I've gotten really good at like planting things. So,
plants?
Like plants.
Okay.
So like
like a garden or something?
I call it my in-home garden. Like I have so many plants, because I do like to go outside. I have a tomato tree growing right now, or tomato plant growing.
Oh, yes. Okay.
But this is the first time ever, and I really feel like it's either like, that ancestral energy coming through, or just like me being in a good space. But every plant that I have is thriving right now. Hey. So it's
plants
like
are energy.
Plants are energy, yes. Right? So it's like, and every single one is just like flourishing. And so I just take that time to be patient with them, right? And like checking on my plants. That's another thing. And then I also I could sew for 12 hours a day.
Okay.
Sewing calms me. It's meditative. I think that, finding your mental, also I see a therapist. So
you need it all.
I didn't start. And that's another thing for black and brown people. We really have not had the access to mental health. And so I'm hoping that, I know that through healthcare and through Colorado, Connect Health and things like that, there are services that you can get through mental health. Mm-hmm. Also, research you've seen, they offer a lot of clinical services. If you are, BIPOC and queer and trans, there are some mental health services out there. But having that has also helped me because I didn't start therapy till I was 29. Okay. I just turned 33. Literally on Sunday. So
happy birthday.
Thank you.
Let's go.
So I think that's the other part is that finding what works for you, it works for you. Mm-hmm. It's not going to look the same. But I also try to find little things throughout the day that make me happy. I love a traditional macchiato, shots with foam.
Yes, okay.
And I honor that macchiato. It's that small place.
Yeah.
And so you just have to find those small things that make you happy too,
I know that's right. I'm here for Gucci loafers and stuff. But sometimes, no, I'm serious. Sometimes the littlest things when it's at your place, at your moment, it is the little stuff and life moves fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did something make you pause? I've always had injury, universe is you're not listening, ACL.
Okay, let's talk about that because I think when you say, okay, universe, I'm ready for the change. Angels, I'm ready for the change. Your entire life is just dumped onto the floor. And I've had that happen a few times. But I've gotten better at realizing no, I am ready for the truth. Just let me stay in a space to learn from the lessons that I didn't last time, right?
Yes.
And sometimes that's hard. I think that for the conversation, I'll keep it a little light. There were a lot of things that I went through and I started to witness, and just being a black body on this planet, there has just always been, and it always feels like I'm under attack all the time. And being black and a queer person, right? Just always under attack. And so I had to really sit down and think, well, if I feel like this, so many other people feel like this. So if I want to help, I need to be at my best. And if I want to help myself, I need to be at my best. So I'm learning how to treat myself better, and that allows me to treat others better.
Absolutely.
So I think that's where that pause kind of happened. I just started to see whether it was we lost 32 or 33 Black trans women last year to violence. Just seeing all of those stories.
Yeah.
It's more than heartbreaking. It's eye-opening, because it truly means that people aren't really understanding the value of my life or other people's lives because they don't want to. Mm-hmm. So I have to create a space where we're all celebrated.
Absolutely. Well, visibility. Thank you for sharing that. Visibility is so massive. Even I think. When did Pose, this is going to sound basic, but Pose came out 5 years ago with Billy Porter, and just seeing, first of all, it was Madonna and Janet and New York in the 90s, but seeing the lifestyle and the HIV and AIDS epidemic, and just being able to be pulled close to those stories and on a mainstream level, I'm this is a fabulous beginning, obviously way late and doesn't show all the angles, but it's something that's in mainstream that's opening the doors.
Yeah.
Because people don't know what they don't know.
Right.
And we're continuously learning, but that visibility is so critical.
It's huge.
It's so critical. And, to brave the storm or walk in your own reality and walk in your purpose, it has to be hard every single day. I mean, you're walking outside of the lines, and yet I hope people know, individuals or anyone watching, people care so much more than you ever know. Yeah. And people are watching so much more than you ever know.
Yeah.
And I mean, you could walk out of the gas station, they see your jacket or the way you're kind to someone. People, especially our young people, they see everything.
Absolutely.
And they're inspired by so much. So much social media and everything gets such a bad rap, and TV and production. But on the flip side, it does provide a window into different realities.
Yes.
I'm not going to say that's always equal because it's not production companies.
Right.
But it provides some visibility.
Yeah. And I think when we talk about visibility, right, it's not just what you're seeing, it's what you're learning. From the book bans that are happening, to affirmative action being dismantled, to Roe versus Wade, like there are so many things that are happening that we have to be vigilant, and we have to, for the ones who fought for us to have those things, we really have to take stock in where we're at now, because we want to continue to move forward. We don't need to go back.
Right.
And so, true visibility is really understanding that I may not know everything that's in your story. I may not know where you come from, but I will fight for you to tell your story. Mm-hmm. I will fight for you to have the voice that you need. I will fight for you to have the rights that you need. Because we're not going to get ahead if we're all underneath, a boot, or if I'm trying to keep you underneath a boot.
Right.
Like we're just not going to get to places. So, when it comes to, I've worked in wardrobe tailoring and just other facets of living in Los Angeles, doing wardrobe tailoring, styling, all those things. And I like to always say HAUS is what it looks like when the mood boards match the team.
Hey.
Because, you look at a mood board and you can go to say you go to a Dior show, or you go to, a higher end show, and you'll see a lot of us on the mood boards, but you don't see us in production. You don't see us on the team. You don't see us sewing. You don't see us anywhere. Right. That to me is not true visibility, right? It's being able to say, well, I want to recognize you and also invite you into this space, because I know with this diversity, with this inclusivity, we are really going to grow. So, visibility it's not just on the TV screen. That's to Hollywood and everybody else. It is from the boardroom to who is casting, to who is writing, who's doing the music, the sound, the set. It's all encompassed in that.
Absolutely. Well, and the cool thing is you can do your research nowadays and find out what companies are doing that.
Yes, absolutely.
So our young humans are intentional consumers. I give this as marketing advice all the time.
Yeah.
Our young people know. So if you plan on faking it or not doing the mood board this and that, I'm telling you right now, the smoke and mirrors does not work anymore. Yeah. And again, the upside of social media, you're going to get called out on TikTok. You're going to get called out on certain things, reviews. That point of accountability is late, but it's happening.
Yeah.
And so our kiddos will support and intentionally shop and do what they can. They'll vote with their dollar.
Yes, absolutely.
We've got an election coming up, and God bless it, whatever side you're on in between, because it's going to be a show. But you kind of got to go back to what am I doing in my world, in my community? How am I spending my money? What causes am I supporting? How am I showing up?
Absolutely.
Because that's what we control at the end of the day. Everything else.
That dollar.
Yeah.
And I'm speaking to, the communities I belong to, but, this was 2017, we had $1.3 trillion in buying power just in the Black community. And then this last year was 1.5, right?
Okay.
We aren't putting that back into our community. And I'm imploring us to do that, because that is how you create the ecosystem, right? That is how you create a more sustainable form. So we are all thriving if we're supporting each other, and we have the money to do so, right? I'm $1.5 trillion is crazy.
Yeah.
But as someone who wants to support, I recently started Open House, which is a house initiative that focuses on supporting and uplifting women-owned and queer and trans BIPOC-owned small businesses. So I'm doing a lot more this fall. But that is my way of saying, you have a business, let me support it. Mm-hmm. You have a business, let me support it that way. Because that's the only way that we're going to get ahead. And coming from a single mother who, I don't know how she did it, but she owns her own home. Mm-hmm. She takes care of my nephew. She is just so strong. I never felt like I needed to have anyone else in my house, because I learned my work ethic. I learned the way to love. I learned the way to love myself from my mom. Mm-hmm. And so if there's any way I can support women and Black women, trans women in general, I'm going to do so, because I wouldn't be who I am without that, and without seeing that, seeing you, you know what I mean? And you even inviting me onto your platform, I think that says a lot. That sets a precedent for where we can be and where we can go, because it's us.
It's a small army.
It's a small army, but we're small army, but we pack a powerful punch, and so we really have to really sit down and say, okay, let's set these differences aside. Let's learn from each other's stories, and let's listen to each other's stories. Let's build and push everybody forward.
Absolutely. You know? Well, people get used to like, I need to do this grandiose gesture and started this and started that. And I'm like, just hold the door.
Just hold the door. Yes.
Just do something really small where someone, I mean, bottom line, everybody wants to be seen and heard.
Yeah.
And like, so if you can just start there and then learn and listen just a little bit, that's enough. Like we have a lot more to do, but like if that's all you can give or provide or hold,
absolutely,
that's okay.
That's a
huge step forward. Yeah. But certain parts of America, it's like, nope, I live this way. I was born this way. I'm going to die this way. And it's like, damn, you missed out on so much.
Yes.
Like when the blinders are on, you miss out on so many things. It's wild. Really quick, because I love this so much, because coaching and teaching and education are all things, but I also believe I'm such a big person. This happened later in my life. I just like spirit and energy, and kind of like you, I had this very early pull to like go do something, to serve in some capacity and show up, and I could never explain it, and just some weird things that happened throughout my life where it was meaningful, but I'm like, I don't know, just weird stuff. But like as I've gotten older, I'm like, God, spirit, energy, God, universe, Madonna are looking out. And even when I try and be really intentional about stuff, get education, train hard, or read more, like things will happen with me doing nothing. I'm like, what the fuck? How did I'm like, I studied for this, and then it's like I show up and this just works out. Or a client comes from the gym where I should have been working. Tell me about like your spirituality and your energy just a little bit more, because I feel like that's such a guiding light in your life.
Yeah. I grew up Southern Baptist. My grandfather was the deacon of the church we went to. Okay. My grandmother was the mother of the church. So I always grew up in just spiritual mode, right? And I love my grandpa. I miss him. He was like my best friend. And I learned, I'm very fortunate, because not everybody does have a family, or a family that they grew up with, right? Like we create our own. But I was very fortunate to be in a family that really, yes, we could argue, yes, we could get upset, but we really supported each other. So that's where I get that from, right? And then fast forward to me, being in school. So when I went to San Francisco and I moved back, I was working 3 jobs. It got really hard to live in San Francisco, and I had to come back home. And I saw myself as a failure. And I just remember meditating and kept hearing things like, it's okay to go back home, because you have to recharge, repurpose, and refocus. And that's okay. Like there's nothing wrong with that. And everybody's education story, everybody's lessons in life are going to be different, and that's cool too. So what I did was I moved back. I started HAUS. I started going to Art Institute when it was a thing. Took a few classes, became an RA. Stopped that. Did more wardrobe training. Moved, came back, and I went to REMCAD for a little bit and took some classes, and I met some amazing creative people. And I was noticing that there were things that I knew that they didn't. So I asked the school to become a fashion tutor. And so I did. And while I'm working on my senior collection, I'm helping the freshmen learn certain things, or I'm helping the juniors learn things. I'm learning things. Yeah. When I think of spirituality, when I think of what that encompasses, that truly means being there for the community, for the tribe, whatever the case is. And so if I can just help somebody learn something quicker, or if I can show them a way to do something that is purposeful and of quality in a shorter amount of time of what they're doing, I'm going to do it. It's not going to cost me anything to sit down and show you how to do something. Because I feel like you could learn how to do an inverted box pleat 40 times, but you'll learn something different each time. So I'm going to be there. I'm going to show you. Stop being afraid of like, I think people get in this mindset of like, if I show you something, I lose out. What's for me is for me, babe. And what's for you is for you. And as long as we can help, teach each other, don't get caught up in this mindset of this like really weird, like hyper masculine, idea of like what business is.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee if you show something, if you help teach something, you are going to get that tenfold. I promise. Every time. It never fails. And I mean, from New York Fashion Week to even working with the wardrobe team for Miss Lauryn Hill, like all of those things just happened because people knew I could do the job, or they knew that I would get along and work with people. Like that's what's truly important. It's like if people are seeing the way that you operate, 9 times out of 10 or 10 out of 10, they're really going to be like, you know what? I love the way you work. I love the way you help out. So please come on aboard. And that's how those opportunities, come your way. You also have to build your own, but
absolutely. I feel like like your angels, your ancestors are like your influencers, and now you're like doing, like they were communing there with you. So like you're being the physical form of it. That's just my 2 cents. I don't know. Yeah.
No, I love that.
But yeah, I think that's so real, because really when you give back, and culturally, like in America, it is like keep your secrets, like this mindset of lack, like I'm going to give away and this and that. And I'm like, do you want the context? Do you want the intro? How can I help you? This whole thing is literally like, I've failed 1,000 times. And if this streamlines your process in life, like come listen to this episode, come do this, because I'm successful and good at what I do, but also also I'm not like, there was 1,000 failures before this one success happened. So it's like, come see what it is. Like I have no insecurity that I'm not going to be the best athlete, the best business person, because I'm only good because I've failed 50,000 times prior and have had to learn the hard way. We could have done some things easier.
But you have 200 episodes, plus episodes now.
Yeah. We stayed, but again, the endurance, like the longevity that you have to really just keep showing up. Like
absolutely.
That is like the end of the day, like the closer, it will happen. I do have to ask, so you did her wardrobe. I saw, I think Lauryn Hill, I don't know when you're with her, but so one of my favorite designers, Melody Asani, she's married to Flea.
Yes.
She did an original collab with Reebok, the 3 wedge sneakers.
Ooh.
It took me 4 years to collect them all. But Lauryn Hill had her backup singers wearing the teal like camo print, the pump wedge sneakers.
Oh, okay, yes,
you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Anyways.
So I can't say I signed an NDA.
Oh, except I would with Lauryn Hill, I would expect nothing less.
So I can't say too much, but I can say working with her wardrobe team it was just a day.
Okay.
And this was for the show that she did out here. That team is phenomenal.
Okay.
Not only were they just kind and loving, they were talented, they were driven, they all came from different walks of life. They were just it felt glorious.
Hey.
And I say that because like, those moments people say like, when did you know you made it? And it was like, it's not just like those bigger moments where I'm like, oh, I'm with this wardrobe team. It's like, no, I made it because the team I worked with, they're badass.
Yeah.
Like, I know I made it. Like, I'm working with some of the best, right? And so that experience just, I was working on a few things. Again, I can't say too much, but I was just working on a few things, and just the support I was given, and the trust that was given to me, where they were like, no, like, okay, do this. And there was no question. They knew I could do it. It felt right, but it felt like love.
Okay.
I always tell people like whether I'm with, friends or any type of business, or if I'm in a relationship, I want love. I want you to love me the way hip hop sounds.
Hey.
And so that's just how it felt. Like, it just felt like it was like an amazing, like, record. Like, it felt like, listening to Shook Ones for the first time, that's when I knew I made it. It just vibed, even when I was in Los Angeles, I worked with, amazing wardrobe people. And I take my hat off to people who are behind the scenes, because they're really like, okay, well, I know they like this, so do that. Like, there was just so much when we talk about coaching. It was really like giving you the gift of the game, right? Like, or being able to say, they don't like this, or, they may not like this. So like, if you're going to do it, do this version and this version. It felt so communal. And for the first time in my life, I had seen people who looked like me working with, Khloe Kardashian, or Refinery 29, Gentleman's Eyewear, Malik Yusuf. Like, it just felt like, damn, I worked so hard and I made it here. And I'm so thankful to my ancestors. I'm thankful to, just, God, angels, ascended masters, I'm just thankful. Because I worked diligently, I worked hard.
Yeah.
And just to see myself, I don't need people to really know my name all the time. I'm not worried about that. But just to be surrounded by people who are just good at what they're doing. They perfected their craft. I'm thankful.
The best of the best.
The best of it.
I feel like that's exactly what Lauryn Hill would want you to say, the way you just said it. So like, Indy or not, she's like, this is love. This, I feel like that would have been like her brand of like, here's what you say, go repeat this. You nailed it. No, I think that's so real. And there's such a thing in life that took me a while to really understand when I was in these corporate environments, whatever, and it just felt so out of alignment. I'm like, I don't belong here. And then when you do, you're like, oh shit. I'm like, this is where I need to be.
This is where I need to be.
This is it. And I hope our young people, all people, can like listen to that intuition or like, does this feel right? And that's enough to know like I'm off path. Like you need to get back to that alignment. I have a million more questions for you, but I will let you go. But I just want to know anything else you want to share about HAUS, the collection that's coming out. Where do we find you? Yes. Like, give us the good deeds.
Okay. So the collection that my team and I are working on, it's called Then and Now, and it's an homage to the civil rights movement, but it's also a conversation. Where are we at now? Has it really changed? What are we doing to make it better? So I'm really excited for this collection. From the textile designs that we're coming up with. We also have collaborated with an amazing shoe designer, Perry Smith Jr. He is helping collab on some shoes for this collection. I'm just so thankful. We're showcasing this collection September 4th in New York.
Okay.
We are still looking for sponsors for the show. And we always take donations. Sponsorships and donations just allows me to take care of the team and the hair and makeup and the models, right? Like my hair and beauty director and all of that. Like it just encompasses that. So if you're able to support, if you're able to donate, if you're able to sponsor, you can go to hausclothing.com, go to our donations page, and you'll be able to see our GoFundMe for the show. Also, if you do donations on the website itself, a lot of that goes to supplies. When I do teach sewing classes, I have sewing classes that start on the 28th of this month. I'm teaching a construction, draping, and flat pattern making class, as well as a design concept and line development course. So, I really am trying to give back. So any donations help, anything that you can give. I appreciate it. There's also they have little tiers for sponsors and donors. So you'll see that information on our GoFundMe page. So check us out, hausclothing.com. That's HAUS clothing.com. Follow us on Instagram, Haus_hold. And really, if I can leave you all with something, one of my favorite artists, Francisco Clementi, he said, if you doubt the morality on the way things are produced, you will be unable to believe in anything. So truly, don't doubt the hard times. Don't forsake your good times. Really listen to what's being taught to you through what your hands make, through what your ancestors are saying, through what people around you are saying. Really focus on your craft and your craft not just being what you do, but who you are. So focus on that. Love yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself. Life is already tough enough. And, it's not gonna hurt you to take a moment and say, I don't have to work 800 hours just to be good. Perfect your craft. Study, take time for yourself, love the people around you, and then support people around you too. You never know what a hello or can I help you with that is going to do for somebody. Just really, really love on that. You just never know what people are going through. So be good to yourselves.
Amen. Bring it to church to Turmeric and Tequila. Let's go. Final question that I ask everybody. Wait, before we do that, we gotta put this in your, what are your dream sponsors? Put it out there.
Oh, my dream sponsors.
Let's go.
Beyonce. No.
Hey, okay, let's go. All right.
I mean, honestly, I wouldn't say I have a dream sponsor. I would say if you feel like you align with what we're trying to accomplish, and what we're trying to build, that is my dream sponsor.
Yeah.
And if you also are trying to do some of those same things, that is my dream sponsor. So, anyone who can truly help us. Like, New York Fashion Week is coming up very quick. I want to make sure that we take care of the travel and the lodging for our models and things like that, because all of our models are local models.
Yes.
So just, whatever you can do, please sponsor us. We'll send you, your sponsorship gifts. We're also allowing, like, if you are sponsoring, you have access to the show.
Okay.
So there's some great guests coming. I can't say much, but there's some really cool guests coming. I would really appreciate you. Thank you so much. Myself and my team.
Let's go. The special guest is Beyonce. You heard it first. I'm putting it out there.
Oh my God. I'm crying.
Let's go. Well, this might answer the final question, but what is success to you? Is it Beyonce at a show?
No. No, but true success to me is that if I've lived a life where not only I could take care of myself, I could take care of others, I've made it.
Yeah.
I don't need to, again, be super famous. I don't need to, fame and recognition, all those things come. But I truly feel like success is when you can sit back at the end of the day and say, I wasn't perfect today, and today wasn't perfect, but I did good today. I did good, whether it was my work or I helped somebody out or I was able to, my team was able to, like, take a vacation. Like, it's those type of things where you're like, oh, I am succeeding. Like, the people around me are thriving, so I'm thriving too. But that's success to me.
Amen.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, you're a bright light, my friend. Like, you got stuff to do out here. And this is big, Colorado fashion, and you're moonlighting on the coast. Like, it's really big that you're representing Colorado in such a big visual and intentional way. So I really appreciate your time and energy. Please go check out all the great things Michael has going on, from coaching, teaching, living a life of service, and putting it all in a beautifully fashionable type bow. I'll put in yours at some point when we have the choir. We'll do the fashion. We'll do some sort of cool collab.
I would love.
And bring it down out here in Colorado.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure.
You.
Go check them out.
Thank you for joining Turmeric and Tequila with your host, Kristen Olson. Tune in next time, and don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.